Well, welcome everyone to the first live podcast episode with a guest. I have Liz Porio here on the Performance with Purpose podcast. Liz is an entrepreneur, mom, homesteader, business owner, etc. Not always in that order. And Liz, I'm really happy that you've taken the time to join me today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited.
So when I mentioned it to you earlier, like when we talk about performance with purpose, that's something that I've started exploring a little bit with like my research and things in regards to like why people do things and why they do what they do in the hopes of accomplishing something, right? So like um, being purposeful with their lives and their decisions and things like that. So when you hear the term performance with purpose, what what kind of feelings does that elicit to you? Like what does like how would you define that in your roles?
So I would say it's moving forward toward goals, whether they're goals of the gym, personal
Mhm.
goals, professional goals, but moving forward with intention and making sure that your actions are in alignment with your intention and the goals that you are trying to achieve. So really just making sure every step of the way you're being cognizant of what you're doing to make sure it is still putting you on track to meet your goals. And it brings a lot more awareness, I feel, to each step along the path.
Mhm.
And so it prevents you from just being an autopilot,
Mhm.
just checking the boxes.
You know, that's a great definition there. I think probably better than what I could have came up with on the spot because well, it's we've known each other for a couple of years, and you're
Yep.
very and like I've shared in the past, like following your journey and our initial conversations, it's really inspiring to see people do what they say that they're going to do, and I think not I don't want to like pigeonhole adults our age, right? But I'm going to turn 44 in February, and I think some of us might have certain expectations of where we should be in life at at certain points, right? Like there's this like upward trajectory, hopefully. And as we've
Mhm.
talked about, the trajectory is not always upward. We've both I essentially have taken some nosedives, and we've pulled the nose up now. Um, but when you work with your well, the other piece that I forgot to mention too, you're a nurse also. So
Yes.
you wear all of these different hats. So when you're working with the individuals that you do either in nursing or with your coaching, um, your Reiki um, business and things, how do you help those individuals try and become more purposeful with the decisions that they make in their day-to-day lives?
Really, the first thing I try to assess, especially with somebody like if I'm working with a personal training client in particular, or even just like a coaching client, is really just trying to figure out their immediate goals. Because sometimes we have to think about like that SMART goal acronym, because oftentimes they have goals and they're great goals, but they are long term goals. And I want my clients to have a win pretty quickly. So it builds that motivation, which can then lead into the discipline of showing up. So if they're setting these high goals of like, hey, I want to lose 25 pounds in the next month, I'm kind of like, okay, well, how often are you actually getting to the gym? If you're not in the gym 4 or 5 days a week, that goal probably isn't going to work. So let's find a way to get you moving your body consistently, say 3 times a week. A fourth would be a bonus. And then we can work from there. So I really just try to break it down so that way my clients can have all these micro wins so that way we can keep building on it.
Now, with your clients that you work with and things, because you've taken um, a nonlinear um, path toward to where you are now from where you like starting in like your background in nursing and now trying to branch off and you're being successful in all these different avenues. When you work with these individuals, have you noticed like are there differences in expectations based on like the ages of the people that you work with or like their other kind of like life experiences because when I talk to my college kids about goal setting we have a like a longer term trajectory like it's 4 years right for the most part um And it seems like it's a long time, but it really isn't in college years, I suppose, right? Like 18 to 23-year olds. So when you're working with your personal training clients or assisting them with nutrition and things, do you find it different based on like the client, like the
Oh,
person that
yeah.
you're working with? Yeah,
Um, all of my clients right now are parents. So they're all juggling school schedules, sports schedules. So our goals, our timeframes are very small. We're only going really 30 days at a time
right.
at most.
Hmm.
For a lot of them, we're going just 1 to 2 weeks because we want to make sure that we have a plan in place and we can adjust as life changes.
Right.
So I don't want to set anybody up for failure. I want to be like, listen, like this is real life. Some of my moms, they're just like, I just want to be more active. If I lose weight as a side effect, great, but I just want to be more active. I don't like being stuck in this rut that I'm in. I want to be able to keep up with my kids. So it's like, okay, well, it's not always possible to get to the gym. Like I live in a rural area. We have no gyms with childcare. So we got to get creative. It's like strap the kid on the back and let's go hike the mountain or get the kids a set of like 1 pound dumbbells so they can work out beside you in the living room. So it's a matter of getting creative and really just reassessing where they're at each meeting because sometimes things come up and they're like, "Oh, I couldn't get to the gym this week. So and so was throwing up and then, this meeting happened at work." And I'm like, "Okay, I get it. That's fine. We're just going to start over. We didn't fail. We just hit a little speed bump. It's not we're just going to keep moving forward." And so I try to like reframe it with my clients that way that just because we hit this little speed bump, um, all is not lost. We just have to pick back up and keep going.
Yeah, the working out with the kids thing, that's new to me. So I have a I guess he's gonna turn 4 in December, so he goes in the garage gym with me a lot. And um if approaching training with the understanding that I have a 4-year old in tow and my time is very limited, does indeed make change the perspective of, okay, I don't have 15 minutes to warm up. I don't have, 20 minutes to work up to working sets. I don't have all this time. And I can't tell you how many times we've watched Toy Story 2 in the garage, but yeah, you're right. Like whatever it takes in order to try and overcome those different types of obstacles. But getting to this journey, right? You're a practitioner, the homesteading, which I find so interesting. um, when you think about like how you help your clients set goals for themselves, and you and I have talked about this, like how, like when did you realize, like, you know what, like this is really, like this is the path for me, like I need to like switch gears, like I need to find maybe not something more purposeful, because I think nursing, that's there's you don't do that if you don't enjoy working with people or helping, or you don't have an empathetic side and what have you. But when was it along your journey that you realized, you know what, I have a knack for this, and this is the direction that I want to take my life?
It was pretty much as soon as I passed my nursing boards and got my first nursing job that I realized, like, oh, okay, I'm not so sure that, conventional healthcare is for me. I have always been kind of health conscious, active, and when you're counseling patients, there's no billing code for that. I don't get paid for that. And so it's just like I have to find something to code to bill for insurance. And we're not allotted time for that either. So that was a lot of eye opener. And so back in, I think it was 2018, is when I really started to go off on this journey to kind of approach what I want to do in a more holistic manner. And, I signed up with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to be a health coach. I was all set to like launch business then. COVID hit, and then, I had some marital issues, moved cross country, divorced. And so then now, just fast forward, it really started to pick back up again, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And over the past year, I've had a lot of distraction because I'm going to be 40 in another month. And I was like, wow, like I have a very, very successful nursing career, but it's not filling my cup. It's checking a box. Whereas working with my clients, whether it's training, coaching, Reiki, teaching at a local studio, even homesteading, like that is what really brings me joy and it brings me calm and peace. So even though these jobs and tasks have stressors, it's not like my W-2 job of
Right.
nursing where I am filled with stress all day.
Now, with when you mentioned it, like I almost kind of chuckle. Not that I mean I wish I could do what you do in the sense of like it sounds as though you came to this point in your life where you had to be more purposeful for yourself, and I think sometimes um, maybe individuals our age, like parents, like split homes, like we're trying to balance all these different things. Um, how? Because I struggle with this all the time. Like I struggle with the trying to fill my cup with what I'm passionate about, but then what I perceive is like expectations from the outside world of like, well, you should be doing this because you went to college for so many years to be a teacher and now you don't want to be a teacher anymore, but you like I guess I don't know if it's like societal expectations, but it sounds like that doesn't really bother you as much. How did you like get to that point of I don't want to say no fucks given, but because I'm for this, I'll have to put the explicit on there now. But like how like it sounds like you have that part pretty much figured out. Like did that take a long time for you to like come to terms with I'm just gonna do what I want because it
Yeah.
you know
That perspective is very recent. Because there was this expectation like, okay, I have my bachelor's in nursing. Now you have to go get your, become a nurse practitioner, which is now a PhD. And I'm like, I don't want to go back to school. I don't want to practice this type of medicine. I'm very much a holistic, like we're using, modern day medicine as a last resort. There's a reason purpose for it, but if we can address issues through diet, exercise, lifestyle changes, supplements, let's utilize that first. And that's just not something I'd be willing to go back to school and not be true to myself with. And a lot of this came after my divorce and a lot of intense therapy, especially the trauma therapy, because I felt that I had to live to other people's expectations of what I should be doing. And then when, my therapists were like, no, like you have permission to do what you want to do. And I really sat with that and meditated on it and reflected on it, I was like, okay. And then when I really started to live my life in that authentic path, I lost a lot of friends and connections, but I gained a lot more. And what I gained was worth it because they're here for the long term. They're here to support me and love me through the highs and the lows. And it feels good. And I tell my boys this all the time, like you have to be healthy. Yes, you need to have a job to pay the bills, to keep a roof over your head. And that's kind of how I look at my nursing job is it allows me to do the things that fill my cup because my personal business still doesn't, it's not paying the bills like I would want them to, but it's just a matter of time before we get there. So, the goal is to slowly come down off of nursing as I build the personal business. And it's just been really cool to do this and to model it for my kids, for my stepkids, so that way they don't have to feel that they need to be confined by what society says. Like I'm big on like, hey, take a gap year after you graduate high school, go explore the world, figure out what you want to do because a lot of people like myself went straight to college out of high school was like, oh wow, you were so good in biology, you should be a doctor or a nurse, get that degree. And then you're like, crap, this actually isn't exactly what I want to do, but I'm too far along to go backward and start over.
yeah that it sounds like yes we are of the same generation where that was the expectation go to college figure something out incur this debt for a position that you might not be as passionate about when you're done. A lot of my classmates like I graduated from college in '04 with a teaching degree. Most are not in education anymore. Like I mean, it was a difficult time back then too. Like districts were, cutting positions and things, so there wasn't a lot of opportunities for us. And they just transitioned to something else, whether it was like, working for Geico or paychecks, like selling insurance and helping other businesses like payroll and things. And I guess I just kind of fell into it a little bit and have been into it for such a long time that it seems like we've heard like Matt talk about the 16-12 and how many weeks we have left and things and I feel like at 44 maybe this might be my halfway point, right? Like I've had family members that have lived to 100 and in their 90s and things, and it's still difficult to wrap your mind around how, I don't know, I guess for me more so, and that's where I find your story so interesting and so captivating, because it sounds like you found a community, right,
Mhm.
where they embraced what you wanted to do, and you have a support system, and you're able to support and educate your kids. Like our kids, well, yours and mine, like they're about the same age. I have conversations with mine about that stuff, also about what they can do and how to be healthy and things. But um, when you say like you lost some people and you gained a tribe, like how, like, and I'm not sure how to pose the question, but I think we talked about it the other day about like social media and things. Like I find it more interesting to follow more people like us that are relatable, I suppose, right? Like the non like social media influencers who don't have kids, and our 24 hours are not built the same. Um, when you lean into your new community, like what type of like supports, like what was offered differently than the friends that you may have lost, that may have just had the expectation of, I be a nurse, like get a job at a hospital for 30 years and then retire, and then you could do whatever you want after that. Like how does that support system, how has that helped you these last like 18 months? And I see you kind of chuckling about that because
I know. It's we are, I would say, like, even my boyfriend, my close friends now, people that I'm meeting, it is we are so different. Just all the way around, from like how we live our lives, our political views, our job and backgrounds. But what makes us the same is we are all so open-minded and accepting of each other and differences. And we celebrate all the wins. We, are there for each other's struggles and losses, but we don't hold judgment at all. Even some tough conversations, like I can have tough conversations now so much easier because I'm not afraid of somebody, going around and gossiping or then looking at me differently. Like I've experienced a lot of trauma, domestic violence, and that for a while people were just like, "Well, he didn't hit you, so why did you leave?" And I'm like, "That doesn't mean he doesn't have to hit me for me to have to leave." Like I was even judged on that. But now that I'm in this new community and I'm very intentional of people that I share my energy and space with, it's amazing. We can go days without talking, weeks without talking, and pick right back up, whereas I still have people from, I guess you could say, like, my old life still trying to creep in, and I just have to sit there and be like, do I want to answer this message? Because each time we interact, they're very draining. It's a lot of drama, a lot of nonsense, a lot of like, this isn't in alignment with where I want to go. I want to keep as much of a positive energy as I can moving forward. And this kind of goes back to that question of, performance with purpose is, I don't want anything in my life that's not going to serve me at all. That could be a person, that could be an object, that could be an experience, but if it is not going to serve me in a positive manner, I don't even want neutral. If it's not going to serve me in a positive manner, I don't want it. And that's kind of where I've built my community. So the circle has definitely gotten smaller, but it's become more cohesive, and it's just amazing and beautiful.
it is, and I think um like the toxic individuals, like I mean I've gone through the same thing, and it's interesting to talk about it in the new community now, right? Because before um going through divorce, like I didn't know anybody that was like, that wasn't part of, I don't want to say my upbringing or culture or anything, but I don't know, I guess Italian people don't get divorced. Like my parents are celebrating 45 years next year, um, or next week rather. The people that came from the same hometown, like it's like the same, right? Like 50 years, 55 years and things. Um, and that's where I find it difficult to engage in these types of conversations sometimes with my parents, because it's do one thing. Like my dad had one job um, from coming here. to the US from Italy. My mom, same thing, like one job and not changing. And it really is difficult, I think, to try and um at least with your parents. Like I'm not sure how you engage with them with this type of new transition that you're going through, but even people my own age, I do find it difficult to well, just go back and get a teaching job, like just go back to like the old thing. And I guess I wonder, like, where do you think that comes from, besides like the stigma of society of just do one thing forever and be happy with it? Like when do you think that like started changing in regards to like filling our cups and expectations and things? Like what are your thoughts on how that has kind of come around with
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do just with the fear of the unknown. People like predictability, and it's easy to become complacent. So even if you're unhappy in a job, unhappy in a relationship, unhappy with, where you live, whether it's a specific home or a geographic location, the fear of what's on the other side prevents so many people from even just getting their toes wet just to see what it could potentially be like. And so they're just like, well, things really aren't that bad right now. I guess I'll just stay where I'm at. And, there's no guarantee that things are going to be better on the other side, but at least if you try and you put in the work, like you're going to know. You're
right,
going to know and you're going to learn so much along the way. And that's kind of like how I got bitten by that little entrepreneurial bug is after my second was born, I couldn't go back to my nursing job because it was one of those situations where I was working just to pay daycare. And
right,
so I opened up my own daycare. And I
well,
did that for 6 months, but realized like this is not for me.
sure,
But I wanna be my own boss,
mhm,
and that's really kind of what started all this, and so I'm happy that I, failed at that because I learned, like, yeah, I wanna be my own boss, I just don't wanna own a daycare. I can't be stuck inside all day. I need to be out and about in the community, and moving. But it's a lot of it has to do with society and just this is what you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to go to school, get a degree, go to college, get a job, get married, buy a house, have 2.3 kids or whatever the average is, a dog and a cat,
right.
retire at 65 and then just sit on a porch swing until you die. That's not what I want to do. That's not what any of my friends want to do. My boyfriend and I talk all the time. We want to retire at 55 and we're doing what we can to try to make that happen so we can enjoy the, older years of life. And just doing things what feels good, not what other people want because they're not living my life.
Right.
They're not in my soul, they're not in my shoes, they're not in my house, so why should they have a say in what I'm doing in my day to day?
Yeah, and you said something really, really interesting there about like pursuing that happiness. I tell my college athletes all the time, especially the ones that I've worked with that kind of had the potential to, maybe if you continue training for a couple more years, if you put yourself in a certain environment, um, and and the ones that have, I think they have achieved that like success, but it always comes with that fear. And there's a couple of stories that I wrote about. I don't think I've really shared them too much um, in the book that's coming out about like Lewis and my coaching career and things that um, with the right mentor, like with the right person, you do have a better opportunity to achieve those goals and dreams. And I tell my kids all the time, like you're graduating, like you still want to like you're not sure what you want to do, be a graduate assistant, like apply someplace, leave, Western New York. I mean, not much here. Uh, and have somebody else pay for your degree and then figure it out someplace else, and you still give yourself like that little bit of buffer before you're responsible for paying your loans back and like bills and like trying to figure this stuff out. And they kind of look at me crazy sometimes, like, no, coach, I can't, like. And I wish when I was 23 I would have had somebody that would have said that. Like, why do you have to start teaching right away? Like, I was going to school, had my graduate, well, I was in grad school, had a teaching job, coaching, like engaged, like following that trajectory, and all that stuff blew up essentially. So it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. But I think like when you talk about like having those people, like who has been like one or two, I don't know if mentors is the right word, or just like peers in your circle that have really encouraged you when you've gone to them and were like, I have this passion for this. I want to do that. Like who's been that person that's encouraged you in your life to kind of go off the beaten path, if you will?
Oh, definitely my boyfriend Kenny. Like he has just been my biggest supporter. There's been zero pushback. It's kind of just a, all right, babe. All right, another thing. Okay. But there's never been a time where he's asked me to slow down or not do something. It's more of a, okay, how can I support you? What can I do? Do you want some water? Do you want some coffee? Like if I'll be up in our room like working on something, he'll kind of just check in and see if I need anything, promotes my stuff on social media. And then my best friends Trisha and Carrie. I've actually known Trisha since I was a very young child. I was actually best friends with her older sister growing up. And Trisha's a couple of years younger, but those two girls, like, they're my cheerleaders. I don't know if either of them have ever picked up a pom pom, but they are my biggest cheerleaders. Just absolutely just behind me 100%, just cheering me on. And everyone has been brutally honest. Like, no, this probably isn't, the best thing. Maybe you should phrase it this way. I can go to them for feedback and I know they're going to give me the honest answer. They're not going to beat around the bush about anything. They're just going to be very straightforward, direct, and it's my responsibility to be open and receive that feedback and make decisions based on it.
Yeah, the decision making process with I guess having somebody like there with you along the way. I feel like I've taken on that role with the college athletes I work with. Like it's really interesting the perspective, and I've shared it before, and I think our college kids now need it more than ever. I think they come to school with this inability to self advocate for themselves, that their communicative skills are just lacking it. And I don't want to blame social media or put it like anything on that. I just think that there's this expectation that they live this maybe more sheltered life, and then they come to school, and there's a lot of accountability. And if professors, they don't care. Like if you don't come to class, you get a zero, and then all of a sudden you have midterm grades and you're academically ineligible. And I find myself having these conversations more often, and it's not so much more about coaching, but it's about life. And when you found these people, like how, like, I mean, I guess you don't maybe necessarily like seek out a life partner. Like sometimes the stars align or what have you. Like with your group, was it like something more purposeful? Like when you met Kenny, was it just like maybe that wasn't like your first few conversations of, hey, I want to be a homesteader and I want to buy all these acres. Like maybe that's not a first or second date type conversation. So like how, so like I guess what I'm saying is, like what would be your advice for others who want to pursue whatever passion they have? Like how would you encourage them to seek out somebody else, or like what would you coach them on in regards to, Liz, I don't like teaching anymore, I want to figure out something else, I really like working with young adults. What do you think? Like how would you help somebody, like how would you use your story to help somebody else who might be in the same situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's kind of one that I hear directly or indirectly quite often. And it's really, you have to put yourself out there. Like you have to take the first step because that community or that opportunity is not going to find you. You have to find it. And then you have to take the step of walking through that open door. So, for example, if it's somebody who wants to go and mentor young people, this is going to be reaching out to local organizations, whether you have a YMCA in your area, other teen or maybe college age programs, and be like, hey, I'm interested in this. Do you have any volunteer or part-time positions? I'd like to, start, getting my feet wet in this arena. And then as you go through those experiences, figuring out exactly what it is you might want to do. Or it might be like, wow, this is not what I thought it was. I'm going to exit stage left and try to figure something else out. But you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to make the phone calls. You have to send the emails, follow through, check in, and just show up and do it. Like, for example, there is a we have like a hot cold experience happening in South County. So it's a little over an hour from me tomorrow. So it's sauna and cold plunging. And we don't have anything like that in my immediate area, but this is the type of community that I feel is for me and where I could also offer my services. So not just make friends and extend my community, but a possible business opportunity. And I don't want to go alone. I would love to go with a friend, but no one's available. And it's also at a brewery, and I'm sober. I'm 420 something days sober. So I'm just like, okay, I really have to like take a deep breath, know that I'm supported, and I can support myself and I'm safe and just go out and have that introduction, go for the experience, and then just see where that can take me. So, like, that door is open. That event being within reach for me, that's my open door, and I have to walk through it. And if I don't walk through it, then shame on me because I just closed the door on a potential opportunity.
Yeah, and I've shared that too. Like, I totally agree 100% that if you, I guess essentially, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Um, and how then? So taking it one step further,
Mhm.
someone's ready to get out of their comfort zone. They're ready to move forward like this, um, and there's still like some trepidation of rejection, or rejection even like still happens. Um, like I tell the people that I work with, like that's going to be part of it from the onset, and then we need to figure out a way to how to better like handle when that might happen. And mine is, we go to a track meet in April and it's raining, or there's still snow on the ground, right? And there's these outside influences that might impact between their ears that they're not like ready for. So when even getting out of our comfort zones, and there's still some of that trepidation, like what is the follow up to that? Like they send the emails, they show up, they do these things, and it's just not happening. Like, do you encourage like to just keep moving forward, or try a different tactic to help, like, knock the door down, as opposed to just try and walk through quietly? Like, what do you think about that?
It's going to depend on situation to situation, but I always come back to the four agreements since reading that book is, always do your best. And the big one is don't take anything personal because sometimes you can be doing your best and you're not getting the response that you want. So you can't take it personal.
Right.
And, depending on the situation, it's like, okay, how else can we potentially seek this opportunity, or do we need to be creative and come around this a different way? And then the other is gratitude. I've got my mala, and is just practicing gratitude for the steps that you're taking to start living the life that you want and seeking the opportunities that are going to fill your cup. Is like, hey, I'm grateful for the strength to reach out and email this person. I'm grateful for that this opportunity even exists. I'm grateful for the follow-up email that I received even though it didn't have the response that I wanted. And so kind of just putting that spin on it because I'm a big energy person too. Being a Reiki practitioner is you're going to get back what you put out into the universe. And so if we're just trying to make it as positive as possible, the opportunities will just naturally just start coming from the universe, and you just have to keep going. You can't let it stop your flow. You just have to be like, "Okay, little roadblock, we're going to take a detour, but I'm still going to get there."
Yeah, I like your thoughts on rejection. I, as a college professor, and one of our responsibilities to participate in scholarship and and have papers published and things, and rejection happens a lot. And I think, like, for me, like that comes with the territory. Like, I understand, like, okay, I'm going to send this article, two of the three people aren't going to like it, they're going to provide feedback, and then you just submit it somewhere else, and it's just part of it. What I find difficult is the others, like being able to I don't know if decompartmentalize is the right term. Like I think sometimes we're able to keep things in silos. Like, that part of my life, like, I'm going to get rejected all the time. Like, I don't care, right? Like, eventually the paper's going to get published. Someone's going to like it, and it might take a year, but that's the nature of it. But for others, for things that are more like impactful, as far as like um, the people that we choose to be surrounded by, our partners, like some of those like really critical decisions. It sounds like with with Kenny and your people there, like you found a really good match. And for those that might like be in, I don't know if like be in relationships where the other person is not quite as interested, like would you still like would your advice still be something similar to, you know, that's something you really need to think about, like if your partner's not going to be interested in what you want to pursue, you know, maybe you might want to think twice about that. Like is it do you think it's as easy as just you know, one philosophy and just move forward like that, or do you think with the different circumstances we as you know,
No, it's gonna be different for everybody. It's going to be different for everybody. You know, having your partner's buy-in obviously is a huge bonus,
right.
and having them involved is a huge bonus. Is it required? No, because that's not their dream, that's your dream, that's your passion and your goals, and so you're responsible for the actions that you're taking to reach them.
Yeah, no, that's great. I because with with the college kids, it seems, and I keep reverting back to it, but I think though, I think that's a good metaphor for life, right? Like you have 3 or 4 or 5 years. Like my kids, it's either a 2 or 4 year program, and sometimes the 2 year program takes 3 years.